All right, let's take our first look at the Fanduel pricing. Interested to see what we have going on here. Fanduel typically going to be much softer pricing than DK. Granted, DK's got a ton of value this week. You can kind of fit anybody you want. Starting out with this Illinois Duke game, 49.5 over under, 26 for Illinois, 23 Duke. Altmaier and Mensa with decent price tags here. If we need the value, I think that they could be in play. Each has mobility that's underrated, but we do have some very good quarterbacks on this slate, so it'll be interesting to see. And I think that you should be able to fit kind of anybody you want on this going forward. Granted, they're the first guys I've seen, so who knows? You might end up needing them. Caden Fagan and Aiden Lawfrey, they're going to be your top options for Illinois at running back. Fagan is a refrigerator with appendages, as I termed him in my offseason preview for Illinois. 7,100 is not a bad price tag for him. He had 14, 15 carries last week, 70-something yards and a touchdown. Aiden Lawfrey is more of your big play option for the Illini. This is a tough Duke defense. It's stout. There's a reason why this total is below 50. 6,800 is not a bad price tag on him. He had, I believe, 9 carries for 120 yards or so and a touchdown last week. Full avoid on the Duke side. I don't like any of their options there. Not on FanDuel for sure. So it would be mainly looking at the Illinois backfield of Fagan and Lawfrey there. Wide receiver wise, we all know the guy that I was looking for here. Cooper Markate, 6,400. The Harvard transfer has been, he was a 4-star recruit. I'm going to keep saying it all week when I talk about the kid. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, decided to go to Harvard, get a good education, and for his last season decided to transfer to a program where he could still get a great education, but also play a high level of football with an NFL chance. I like his price tag at 64. I'm very much so in on that. Hudson Clement did not play very much last week. He looks to have fallen behind. Hank Beatty at 57. That's not a bad price tag. And I am Quayshawn Brown in play. Samir Hagans, yeah. But I think I'm going to lean on Barkate. And if I want to take shots on the Illinois wideouts, it's Beatty, who was the best performer last week. If I'm touchdown hunting, it's going to be Justin Bowick at 4,500. I'm a fan. He had 4 targets last week, 2 touchdowns. They were earlier in the game. He's 6'4", red zone threat. He was absolutely dominant at Ball State with a awful quarterback situation last year. I think if you're going to punt, so far, Bowick would be my preferred punt option at 4,500 at the min price there. But Barkate is a good play as well at 64. Moving on to Baylor SMU. Big time game here. 65.5 over under, 34 for SMU, 31 for Baylor. I am going to end up liking plays in this game across the board. Sawyer Robertson, 11-2, fully deserved. He's very good. 10K on Kevin Jennings. He's mobile. I think Robertson's very mobile. With them playing from behind a little bit, I like him. It'll be interesting to see because SMU's got a stout run defense from last year. Moving into this year, how good is it? That's going to be a question we're going to need answered. Kevin Jennings, very good. We saw Auburn last week get Jackson Arnold roughly 100 plus yards rushing. Jennings not necessarily a designed runner as much, but is mobile plenty enough to pay off that 10K price tag. They're both in play. They're both in the pool for sure. Bryson Washington, that is a beautiful price tag. So like I said, SMU, good run defense. Bryson Washington at 8,600. He struggled last week with Auburn. But Washington is the type of guy that can come up and break a slate. So at 86, that's a very fair price tag on him. I would have expected him to be in the nines, maybe even the 10K range. So I think you're getting value there. I would say you're going to have some Sawyer Robertson. You're going to have some Bryson Washington. You're going to want to mix them in. I don't know what to make of this SMU backfield. Nobody's really emerged. So we're going to have to wait and see. I think over the long haul, it's going to be TJ Harden, McFalls getting the touches right now. I'm probably in a void on that backfield for this game, but with a 34-point team total, I think you need to take shots. Romello Brinson, that's probably too pricey at 87 for my liking. I don't love him. It sounds like Jordan Hudson is probably going to be not available. He came into the year as probably the number one there. I'm an RJ Maryland guy. Big games, he tends to step up and end up being a featured option. I think this is a spot for him at 5K that you could take shots. Jalen Cooper really stepped in for Hudson when he went down last week. And I just think Brinson's too expensive. He's not a dominant wide receiver that I want to take that shot on personally. Josh Cameron was not featured last week. Everybody was freaking out a little bit about that. 8,100. I have no problem if you want to pair Sawyer with him. He's most likely guy to be able to score multiple touchdowns in this situation and break something. So, Hawkins is more of your short area target. Don't have a problem playing him at 68. Don't love him at 68. Trigg played great last week. I just don't know that you could count on that. That's more of like a, hey, I'm box score watching. Same thing with Cole Wilson. You want to take shots on Cole Wilson, Ashton Hawkins, Michael Trigg. No problem there. I just prefer to go to Cameron. I think Cameron's going to be under-owned this week because of the lack of production, and he's the type of guy who can score 3 touchdowns in a game right here. So if I'm playing this game, Sawyer Robertson with Cameron is probably your lower-owned portion of this. And then you can go Jennings and play him with Bryson Washington as just a different fallback option. And if you need the value or you're getting there, I have no problems with Cooper or Maryland as options in this game as well. San Jose State, Texas, 51.5 over under. Texas, 44. San Jose State, barely anything. Walker Egan, no shot. I'm touching him at 6,400. He's going to get absolutely destroyed. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't play the whole game. Arch Manning, this is going to be the Arch Manning feature game. So I think they end up trying to get him 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in this one. 10-5, fair price to tag to pay. I don't mind taking shots on Arch, knowing that all of the talk this week is that Arch isn't very good, and Sark's probably going to want to prove a point by getting there. Woo, that's a big price tag on Quintravion Wisner. I don't know that I'd want to go there. There was a bigger split between him and Baxter last week than many would have expected this early in the season. I don't mind taking shots on Baxter. If you have the salary, sure, go pay for Wisner. But he's definitely not my favorite option on this slate for 10K in a blowout situation where I think they feature Arch. So I'll probably end up avoiding Wisner in my entries in the big tournament here. 92 on Wingo is a big bet to make. I don't mind making it. If I'm going to pay up for a guy here, I don't mind paying for Wingo. I think they're going to try to feature him as well, get him going. DeAndre Moore, kind of more of a possession guy, but if you want to take a shot there, sure. Livingstone, he had the big catch last week, 7,100. Maybe you could take shots there. Injuries could be a guy who pops up here. That's going to be something I'm going to have to make a decision on later in the week when I play some Arch. Who do I play him with? Scudero could end up with – Scudero's the only guy that I'm willing to take a shot on here. I like Leland Smith long haul in this offense. But Scudero at 67, I don't hate because I think it's possible he could end up with a similar stat line like Easton Messer had last week with like a 10-12 catch game. I doubt he gets the double-digit catches, but let's say 6 for 60. That's 9 points. Do I really want that on a touchdown basis? I don't think he scores. So you'll have to keep that in mind. You're looking for touchdowns on the half PPR here. Let's look at UVA NC State. 53.5, 28 NC State, 25 UVA. This is going to be an interesting one to check out. 11-5 on Chandler Morris. Let's see what the newest news update is on him. He's got an AC joint issue. Okay, so it sounds like he's going to play. So that's going to put him. That's too much price tag for me for Chandler Morris facing NC State. Don't hate, don't love CJ Bailey at 97. I think you could keep him in your pool, but I'm going to wait until I run projections to see there. 9,800 for Hollywood Smothers. So they priced him appropriately. He's definitely the feature option in that backfield. That's an appropriate price tag for him. Well-deserved. I would play him over Wisner personally because I think they're going to need to rely more on Smothers. Jamari Taylor is your top option for UVA. 72, we'll have to wait and see on that. I don't hate that. If he was in the 6K range like Xavier Brown, then maybe. Cam Ross, hell no. I'm not paying 9,700 for Cam Ross. I would 100 times out of 100, I'm paying for Terrell Harris over Cam Ross at 7,900. I know Ross had the big game last week. I think Terrell Harris ends up being the guy there. Wesley Grimes, that's probably a little too pricey for him. So Teddy Hoffman is interesting. Jolie, we'll see. Noah Rogers, no thank you. So Teddy Hoffman's interesting. He had 6 targets and 5 catches for 93 yards. He did it on 11 routes. I talked about it in the DK thing, first look. Don't get fooled by that. If he's only going to run on 11 routes, he's not going to get a 55% target share every given week. So keep an eye out for that. If I was picking wide receivers from NC State, which I'm probably not, I'm probably playing them through some others, I would lean to Grimes probably as the one, and then just not really loving, but I'd probably go Jolie as well. So if I'm playing this game, if I'm stacking it, I want Hollywood Smothers, and I probably want Terrell Harris, maybe with Chandler Morris, but he's one hit away from getting knocked out of this thing. So I don't know if I want to take shots there. All right, Iowa State, Iowa, 42.5 over under. These are older lines, but they'll change throughout the week. 22, almost 23 for Iowa State. Like basically 20 for Iowa. The decision point in this game is really going to come down to these Iowa running backs and what they're priced at. They're cheap as chips on DK. I'm not playing Rocco. I love Rocco. Every week I'm going to love Rocco, but this is not the game for him. I think the Iowa defensive ends get after him, and the Iowa State offensive line is just going to be a struggle bus. We saw it in that Kansas State game where Kansas State really got after him. So he's got to will the team to victory, but this is just not a situation I want to play. Abu Sama and Carson Hansen have been splitting work, 1A, 1B. Don't want to play them against the Iowa. Kamari Moulton being out presents opportunity. Terrell Washington and Xavier Williams are going to be your top options. Washington is the announced starter, basically. So he'll end up getting the start here. But Xavier Williams has a lot of interest. So he had 11 carries, 122 yards, and a touchdown. He was extremely explosive as a redshirt freshman here. Can he be the guy that breaks the slate? Maybe. Terrell Washington also will be in play. But Xavier Williams is a guy that I'm trying to wrestle with what I want to do here because he's cheap on DK, cheap here. He's a guy that I'm really interested in. Although I do like the Iowa State front seven. I think it's one of the other more underrated units in the country. Their defensive line's got some solid pieces in their linebacking core is really nice. boy, do we have cheap wide receivers. Don't play an Iowa wideout, not until they throw for more than 100 yards in a game finally. Ben Bramer is too underpriced at 4,500. I would be willing to take shots there. He's the only guy I'm willing to take shots on in this offense. Gabe Burkle should not be priced more than him. Ignore Chase Soul. I hyped him up before week 1 and I was wrong. So that happens. Kansas, Missouri, 51.5 over under, 29 Missouri, 22.5 Kansas. Also a game that I think could shoot out or has some shootout potential, but Missouri's defense is absolutely nasty. 98 for Jalen Daniels, 94 for Pribula. Pribula getting all the reps now with Sam Horn out. Pribula is a rushing quarterback, both of them very mobile. Daniels has been on a heater to start the year. I think both are in your pool, certainly. And we'll have to wait and see, but I think Pribula is probably a slight edge for me there over Daniels. Ahmad Hardy at 9K. He's definitely the lead back there. We need to see. I think LaShawn Williams comes back this week. 52 is not a bad price if you're dumpster diving here, but Highshaw is solid. He's a good player. 77, maybe a little high on him in this matchup. Hardy at 9K is a little high, but he is a talented back. Jamal Roberts got the start last week, but his carries paled in comparison to Ahmad Hardy. I don't mind taking shots on Hardy, but it'll just kind of depend. I prefer Smothers certainly, and probably Bryson Washington in that same price range. Wide receiver wise, Emmanuel Henderson's too cheap at 59. I can tell you that right now. You know, I hyped him before week 1. It ended up being a 2-touchdown Cam Pickett game. This is going to be a game where they're going to be pushed. I prefer Kevin Coleman to Marquise Johnson personally. Coleman more the possession wideout. If I'm stacking Bo Pribula, it's going to be with Kevin Coleman at 7K. I'll ignore Johnson. I don't know that Pickett won't be the guy. Henderson had a big game last week, over 120 yards. He should end up being the one over the course of the season. If I'm stacking Jalen Daniels, it's with Emmanuel Henderson. If I'm doing a bring back on my Coleman Pribula, it'll be Emmanuel Henderson. So I'll stick to that price right there. All right, moving on to Ole Miss, Kentucky. This line's going to move around all week. 52.5, 31 Ole Miss, 21 Kentucky. I don't know how Kentucky gets 21 points, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. I would take the under on that team total. Austin Simmons, 12K. That's probably a little out of my price range. If I want, so far, he's the highest price guy I've seen. Zach Calzada, ignore. He can't throw for 100 yards on Toledo. How's he going to do it against Ole Miss? Simmons, that is a big boy price tag. So I think we're probably going to end up out on Simmons here. Granted, he could easily do anything. 8,800 on Keywan Lacey. I prefer him to Hardy in this spot with 8,800. He got all the work last week he could handle. Don't play Dante Dowdle. Most of his numbers came on a 76-yard touchdown run. And McGowan, I would be more apt to play if of the two, but I probably want to avoid both in all fairness. Don't mind that price tag on Lacey, though. 3 touchdowns last week. Looked pretty good. Definitely the number one in that offense. Harrison Wallace operated as the one. I don't like Harrison Wallace. I make no bones about that, but clearly he's in play. Caden Lee, the most disappointing player of last week, not getting hardly any run or any targets at least. Caleb Odom played very well. 5,200, not a terrible price tag on him. He almost seemingly operated as like the number 2 wideout, basically. Him, Daquan Wright, and Harrison Wallace were the featured options. I think Caden Lee is going to end up getting some more. It could be a good buy low opportunity this week. I'm ignoring Zajon Stribling because he was still playing in the blowout last week, which tells me he doesn't know the offense well, and they're trying to get him reps. So we'll see. But given that I'm not liking Simmons, I may end up underweight on the wide receiver. I don't like Simmons' price tag, we'll say. But I do like Keywan Lacey. If I'm attacking, I might attack with him, given his featured role there. Oklahoma State, Oregon, 58.5 over under. 43 for Oregon. We can kind of ignore Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy's been passed by. I feel terrible about that. I like Mike Gundy, though. 10-8 on Dante Moore. Not known to use his legs. We'll have to wait and see there, but I think he could be an option to throw for 3 touchdowns this week. He can run enough to make him useful. 10-8's not awful for him. Not as bad as that Simmons price tag. That's a little heavy. Noah Whittington at 93. No, thank you. There's too many question marks. I think 11 guys got carries in this backfield last week. 55 on DK is fine for Whittington. I'm willing to take shots, not at 93. I don't have guarantees that he's going to be the number one. They were playing everybody last week. And Mekhi Hughes, I don't know what's going to happen there. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm playing the wait and see game on him. Jaden Lamar got some run as the 2. You could see 10 guys again this week. So I'm full fade on that situation there. DeCorian Moore, I'm willing to take shots on at 68. Malik Benson sucks. No shot I'm playing him. He's a one-trick pony. Maybe that trick pays off, but I'm not playing him. DeCorian Moore is going to be the top wide receiver option, playing that Tez Johnson role this year. I don't mind taking shots at 68. That's a fair price tag. Kenyon Sadiq at 64, probably the most athletic and talented tight end in the country. Don't mind taking shots there. Gary Bryant, 59. Don't hate. I'm okay with that, but I prefer taking my chances on Moore that this is his breakout game, or Sadiq that he catches a touchdown or 2. Moving on to Colorado and Delaware. I'm not playing any Delaware. 50.5 over under. 37 Colorado. 13.5 for Delaware. No thank you on Delaware. 11K for Caden Salter. No, thank you. I mean, I could see it paying off, but Dion's already talked about he wants to get Julian Lewis reps. And this is a game where he can get him reps. So do I really want to pay 11K for Salter? He ran a lot last week. He will run in this game. They have a big team total. I'm going to have to see projections before I consider that. That's a hefty price tag, though, for the risk of Julian Lewis being able to play a lot in this game, knowing that they have it under wraps. Running back wise, if I was going to take a shot, it's Decalon Taylor. He played pretty decent last week, hauled in that touchdown. He was active out of the backfield. He's explosive. I'd be willing to take a shot or 2 at 52 if I was going that low. Otherwise, I kind of want to stay away from the running backs. Wide receiver wise, Omarion Miller is looking to be out this week. Dion kind of said that we have other guys. So I don't think he plays in this matchup. That makes Draylon Miller and Joseph Williams your top 2 options. Don't mind either one. Draylon was warming up with the running backs last week. I don't hate going there at 67, but that's going to be something to monitor as the week goes on for sure. South Florida against Florida. Fun game. Could be a close one. I think South Florida could cover, but, we'll see. They looked really good against Boise, and they're lucky that they're facing Florida because they're going to be hyped for this one. 54.5 over under. 36 for Florida. 18.5 on South Florida. Like I said before last week, anytime Byron Brown takes the field, he's dangerous. At 8,700, not an awful option. DJ Lagway priced fairly at 95. He's a guy that easily could be in the 10K plus range here. But we want to feature the big boys. So Jaden Baugh at 10-2. That is a hefty, hefty price tag. I don't know that I want to pay that. I'm going to have to wait and see. But I like Jaden Baugh a lot. So maybe I'd be willing to pay that. But that is a hefty price tag. It does not stand out as like, hey, I'm going to be playing him a ton. I still probably prefer him to Wisner. So Wisner might be out of the pool at this point at that 10K tag. Now that I've seen these other prices. Whittington definitely out of the pool for sure. Don't mind Lagway there, though. Don't mind it, but we'll see. Eugene Wilson, I'm not playing him at 9,400. No, thank you. He had 5 catches for -4 yards and a touchdown last week. I love Eugene Wilson, the player. I just think they need to utilize him a little bit better. If you're bringing back a stack or you want to bring back a Jaden Ball exposure, it would be with Kayshawn Singleton. He's the guy who's going to be operate as the one very clearly for the South Florida team. He's their best playmaker for sure. If I was going to take a shot on a wide receiver for Florida, it's Vernell Brown. Played very well last week and took advantage of his opportunities with Dallas Wilson and Aiden Mizell out. I think Vernell Brown's a reasonable guy. If I was stacking Florida, stacking somebody with Lagway, I'll take a shot on Vernell Brown at 5,200. Currently where I sit. We'll have to watch later in the week to see if I maintain that vigor. Michigan, Oklahoma, 46.5 over under, 26 Oklahoma, 20.5 for Michigan. This is going to be a slobber knocker. What is John Mateer? 10-6. So John Mateer is going to run the heck out of the football. He can throw it. He can run it. This offense suits him. I am not playing Bryce Underwood at 8K. I know he's hyped up, but this is a defense. Oklahoma's got a stout defense, and I think you're going to see Brent Venables come up with some stuff to confuse him for sure. Mateer probably in play. You can't glean anything from that New Mexico-Michigan game. That's for sure. Justice Haynes scored 3 touchdowns last week, hyped him up. He dominated. I ended up switching to a little bit of Jordan Marshall. That was a mistake. Jaden Ott working his way back to health. Currently, this backfield is a mess. I'm going to avoid it until Ott can make himself break free. But Justice Haynes, if you were going to play a Michigan player at all, it's Justice Haynes. He's the only one I would play, but I'm probably not going to with a 20-team total and a 9,200 price tag. Wide receiver-wise, Deion Burks is definitely the top option here for your Oklahoma Sooners. He's kind of operating in that, what was his name? Kyle Williams role from Washington State last year out of the slot. If you're going to stack Mateer, it would be with Deion Burks, definitely, because I've seen proven production out of him. I know some of these other guys had, it was a good game for Keontae Lewis, but I'll lean into Burks here if I was going to. Don't know that I will, though, because of the low over-under. Ooh, this is a fun one. All right, get your money lines ready because Arizona State heads to Starkville, a.k.a. Stark Vegas, 58.5 total, 32.5 Arizona State, 26 Mississippi State. This is going to be a fun game. Sam Levitt, 10-2, reasonable price tag on him. Blake Shapen, reasonable price tag at 9K. Shapen has the ability to run a little bit more in this Jeff Lebby offense. He fits it well. Sam Levitt can run. We know where he's going to throw it, so he's an easy stack partner. I'll be interested to see what his price tag is because he just picked up where he left off last week with a ton of yardage. Levitt, I like. Don't hate that play at all at 10-2. Don't hate Shapen at all at 9K. Both are in play to me, but Mississippi State runs the ball really well. So this is an interesting situation here. You got Devon Booth, who operated very well and looked great between the 20s. I'm a big Fluff Bothwell believer. I loved him at South Alabama. He does not get a ton of touches. All of his points last week were, he had 43 yards rushing, 10 totes, but he hit the end zone twice. And he hit the end zone twice before Devon Booth hit the end zone. But they made sure to get Booth a touchdown because they had stolen the touchdowns from him early in this game with Fluff. So I would play Booth over Bothwell again, given the touch disparity. But I can understand if you want to take shots, if you're in that range, to take a shot or two on Fluff. Kyson Brown, the clear number one back, now taking over for Cam Scadaboo. He's the best in their backfield at being a runner and pass catcher. Raleek Brown wills come in and spell him for certain packages. Brown's not a great price tag here at 84, but it's not bad. Kanye Udo operated as the clear number 3, which was interesting. He's more of just a runner, not necessarily as much of a pass catcher. If you're going to take shots, I would go with Kyson Brown. Raleek Brown, that's too much of a punt for me. There's not going to be the volume there. Kyson looks pretty stout. But 84, we're going to have to start comparing him to some extent. If I am playing an Arizona State player, without a doubt, it's Jordan Tyson. He's an absolute monster. Absolute monster. 12 catches, 17 targets, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. The man is an absolute force of nature. Look at his numbers for the end of last year. Look at these fantasy totals. If you're spending up on this slate at wide receiver, play Jordan Tyson. He gets half of the, 50% target share for this team. So sure, play him. Traore had a big catch. I'm kind of ignoring that. Evans, I still like. I would still split his exposure. Evans playing out of the slot. He's going to get a ton of targets. Brennan Thompson played great last week. 5,300 is too cheap for him. He would be a great bring back option in this game if you want a cheap piece to it. I don't mind taking shots. I'm going to take a ton of Tyson just because he's that good. So you want running back? Sure, you could go Kyson, but I would prefer Booth, Tyson as a combination. I don't mind Sam Levitt, but Tyson's the guy I'm playing. So I'll have shots on Tyson. I'll have shots on Levitt with him. And like I said, Brennan Thompson, I don't hate as a bring back there. Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, 47.5 over under, 24-23 basically in this game as the spread. Pavia is a runner, 9,900, very fair price tag on him. I like that play. You saw what Lenoris Sellers did to Virginia Tech. I think Pavia can do very similar things. He's in play certainly at 9,900. Kyron Drones, I just don't know that he's any good. Maybe you could take a shot or two at 8,500 because I don't trust the Vanderbilt defense. He actually played fairly well against Vanderbilt last year. So maybe you could take shots there. I was a little overexposed to him in that game before. Oh, man. South Carolina ran all over Virginia Tech. Cedric Alexander, definitely your top option in this backfield. If you want to take shots, I don't hate it at 7,800. Can't hurt. We need to see what happens here with Terrion Stewart. So it could return to action. Hopefully he's back. I don't love that. Marcellus Hawkins played okay, but the defensive line for South Carolina is a vastly different animal than Vanderbilt's defensive line. I'm going to have to wait for that to play out to decide if I even want to think about taking shots. I prefer the Vanderbilt side here. Probably prefer it through Pavia, but I don't hate Cedric Alexander. We need to see. So, yep. Okay. So he did play. Good. Eli Stowers is going to be your top stack option with Pavia. They are good friends. If you're going to play Pavia, I don't hate taking shots at 6K on Eli Stowers whatsoever. That's a very fair price tag for him. Aiden Green looks like the top option for Virginia Tech. I kind of saw him get targeted a little more than Donovan Green, but each of them are pretty good. So I don't mind shots there if you need to have a bring back or want to play a piece of this Virginia Tech offense. All right. Closing it out with Boston College, Michigan State, just an uninspiring game. This is a Big Ten game of all Big Ten games. We got the butt chin on for Boston College, the sideline, slowing the game down. 45.5 over under 20, basically 25-21 for the most part. Aiden Childs, no thank you. Not really interested in him at 8,200. Dylan Lonergan played really well last week. They're saying he's just needed a day of treatment. So if he plays, he played really well. 268 and 4 last week. I'm gonna have to debate that one. 7,800 is a cheap price tag. I'll have to think about that. Turbo Richard was kind of a disappointment last week against Fordham with 16 carries for 48 yards. Maybe, that's a maybe. It was very clear that Mekhi Frazier and Brandon Tullis were the 1-2, with Frazier taking on the lead role. 7K. Once again, maybe. I don't love it. Nick Marsh is definitely the top option in this Michigan State pass offense. I'm not paying 9K for him. I do like him. I'm a big fan of his. Lewis Bond, also top option in that offense. These teams are just going to slow it down so much. I would rather pace up in these other games and take options in those rather than try to play this slow-paced, hope that I hit one play. Jaden Skeet is a guy that can pop off. But the prices are up a little bit on a game with a 45.5 over under. It's kind of similar to that Iowa State game. I don't really want to get hamstrung by playing those guys. So anyway, that's the first look on this slate. Some decent pricing. Be interesting to see what we end up building out here. I mean, let's throw something together just for the heck of it. Why not? I'm sitting here staring at it. It's the first time I've seen it. Let's see. Let's have some fun here. Let's go Sawyer. Why not? I don't mind paying Sawyer. Let's play Josh Cameron. Why not? Running back wise. Let's go Hollywood. Why not? Let's see. Let's go Pribula at quarterback. Why not? I think that could be fun. Let's go Pribula. And then you don't need to stack Pribula, but you can. Let's go Emmanuel Henderson here. At least be 5,200 at running back. We saw somebody down here. Well, I mean, that would be an easy one. Where are the Iowa backs? What were they at? Let's see what the Iowa guys were at. Xavier Williams and them. Okay, so they were more expensive. If you want to get real frisky, I mean, you can go Declan Taylor there. You can play that. I'd probably prefer to change it up a hair there. But, let's see. I don't want to play Oregon that way. I don't mind the Sawyer stack, but it's a situation where you can kind of play around there. You could go Arch. Don't want to play that stack. I don't mind going cold. Oh, no, I don't want to. I want to make sure I stack him. So, yeah, I mean, this is easy. Something you can play like that. You can play. Let's just look at the running backs. You can drop down. You can go Keywan Lacey. We could go Booth to go with Tyson. That gives us 7K. You can play in this range. No problem. You can play Frazier. He's fine. You can play Lawfrey. He's fine. Heck, I can go away from Cameron, play these guys naked, no issue. You can go get plenty of guys with the. But if I'm playing a top guy over, basically anything over 8,500 and above, I'm defaulting to Jordan Tyson. It's just lock, stock, and get him in. So anyway, we'll have some fun building on these. I'll get some looks in there. And later on this week, we'll do a little lineup builder. And I guarantee you Jordan Tyson's going to be featured a lot. So I will see you guys then. Goodbye.